But last, but certainly not least, and unfortunately sad news to
Mm,
end off on is Xbox layoffs. Uh, as
mm.
part of a wider Microsoft layoff of around 15K employees, Xbox laid off 7,000 of their employees. Which, like, why do they have to do almost half of that? That's ass.
Right.
um, this has resulted in Studio The Initiative being closed, which is the studio that was working on the Perfect Dark remake. So that was
Mm.
also canceled, um, which I was really excited for that game, and that sucks so much.
Yeah.
Massive layoffs at ZeniMax Online Studios Europe, and their new MMO IP is canceled. Massive layoffs at
Mm.
Rare with their upcoming game Everwild being canceled. The Forza Motorsport devs turned 10 had 50% of their staff fired. And finally, we have massive layoffs at the Call of Duty dev, Raven Software. And if they're laying off people that are making Call of Duty, you know there's a problem. Uh,
Yeah.
Xbox CEO Phil Spencer had this to say. Today, we are sharing decisions that will impact colleagues across our organization. To position gaming for enduring success and allow us to focus on strategic growth areas, we will end or decrease work in certain areas of the business and follow Microsoft's lead in removing layers of management to increase agility and effectiveness. Out of respect for those impacted today, the specifics of today's notifications and any organizational shifts will be shared by your team leaders in the coming days. And that was just the first paragraph of his whole statement, but that was kind of the most important one. Because
Mhm.
Inside Games on YouTube, which is a great YouTube channel that if you want to get just caught up on like gaming news, I would definitely suggest following them. They've been in the industry for a long time. They are former G4. That's what it was. They
Mm.
they worked at
Mhm.
G4. I think they might have briefly worked at like IGN. They worked with Machinima, and they uh, maybe most famously worked at Funhouse. I love
Mm.
Funhouse when Funhouse was still a thing. They were like
Mm.
they were
Mhm.
like pretty high up in Funhouse before they got bought up by Rooster Teeth, and then Rooster Teeth no longer exists. But they left
Right.
Rooster Teeth and Funhouse long before Rooster Teeth went under, but because of WB. So they've been kind of on
Mhm.
their own doing their own streams and stuff, and then they um started Inside Games, which is essentially them kind of continuing something that they used to do with Funhouse and Rooster Teeth called Inside Gaming. But of course, they don't
Mhm.
have the ownership of that name anymore, so they turned into Inside Games, and now they do the same kind of news coverage through their own personal means, and it's really good
Right.
and very informative. And whenever we get big news like this, I always go to them whenever they release a video to help me formulate my notes. And
Mm.
they kind of almost reiterate essentially what's said here, but in a way that makes more sense. And it's that Xbox, they didn't want to lay these people off, even though we've seen Xbox lay people off before. This layoff was because Microsoft said people have to go. Oh, Xbox isn't doing as well as we want them to. Let's direct most of these layoffs to them, to
Mm.
save money. I can only assume, and
Right.
they had to make the choice of like, okay, who do we let go? And it seems like they're directing the layoffs to middle management, specifically
Mhm.
because they bought Bethesda, they bought uh, Activision Blizzard, and because they bought these big self-publishing entities, there's a lot of middle management, and
Right.
Phil Spencer specifically says they're trying to increase agility and effectiveness, and having all these middle managers from the previous leadership of those organization kind of be in place kind of makes it harder for them to be agile, as they say. So they're kind of
Mm.
using this unfortunate situation of them having to lay people off to lay off those people so that they could be more agile and effective, as they say. um
Right.
it sucks just overall, just for people to be losing their jobs.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
you know they some of these layoffs are so big that you got to wonder, like, some of these, like, turn 10, the Forza Motorsport devs lost half of their staff.
They're
What are they
right.
what
And it's
the
like, how much?
Like, my guess is that so there's two Forza games. There's Forza Motorsport, which is the
Mm.
actual racing one, and then there's Forza Horizon, which is the open world one. Forza Horizon does great. Forza Motorsport doesn't do as well. My hope and guess is that hopefully the 50% that are remaining are folded over into the Forza Horizon team versus being completely laid off in like a year or so.
Mm.
Because I imagine that some of these teams that have been massively gutted are just going to go eventually. That they're just going to shut those studios down.
Yeah.
Whether it's because they shut
Yeah.
the studio down and fold them into another studio, or they're just gone.
Right.
Like Raven Software as well. I want to hope that rather than just closing the studio and firing everybody, they close the studio and fold them into the other Call of Duty studios, like Treyarch and all of them. Like, because it's weird that
It's
this,
just like
Raven Software has been working on Call of Duty for a long time, and Call of Duty is one of the most profitable things that Xbox owns right now. So for them to start laying off people from a Call of Duty dev is insane.
right. It's like they say it's in the name of efficiency and like, being able to I don't know. It just doesn't like I don't know anything about business, so that might come through in the way that I talk about this, but it's like it doesn't make sense to me to like laying off middle management. I guess that makes sense. It's like cutting out like all the unnecessary back and forth, but like half of an entire team of staff, like who's going to develop the games in like that like what was the term he said? I forgot that quickly.
In reference to what?
Like
Agility and effectiveness.
yeah, it's like how are you going to develop games with agility and effectiveness if you've only got half of a team to do so with? What sense does that make?
Yeah,
I don't know. It's just this is bonkers to me. That's the only way I can talk about it. It's like it's bonkers.
and what makes it
Very backwards.
What makes it suck extra hard is that Xbox profit margins have been increasing lately because of the whole,
Right.
the stuff we talked about recently about the stuff that they've been doing a good job of like trying to really get in on the PC market because PlayStation and Nintendo aren't really in there. So Xbox is kind of like taking advantage of that. So they're starting to do better, but I guess Microsoft doesn't care, and they're still not doing good enough for Microsoft, which sucks.
Sad.
Yeah,
Very much sucks.
and yeah, it definitely feels like in like a year we're gonna see more studios just get closed because of this, and that sucks.
And I feel like Xbox does this every once in a while where they're like, we're downsizing, and then they downsize and their profit go down. They're like, why is the profit going down? Fire everybody! And it's like, one of these days they're going to literally fire everybody and then not have anybody to make games. I feel like.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to get to a point.
Yeah, coincidentally, I saw a post before we started recording. I mean, is that that said like studios are like deciding that people only want this one very specific game in this specific genre instead of making a bunch of games in that genre. Like there was like a bunch of that meme that started from regular show where it's like Skips and all his friends and then it skips in just a bunch of graves because he's immortal. For those of you who don't watch regular show, it was that, but all of the different racing games that PlayStation used to make, and like Mod Nation Racer and stuff like that, and then now it's just Forza Horizon, or not Forza Horizon. I'm thinking of the games we were just talking about from Xbox. What do you call it? Gran Turismo.
Yeah.
And now it's just Gran Turismo, and there's nothing else. And how that's an industry wide thing where devs go, okay, people only want this very specific thing from the genre. It's like, no, we want diversity.
Right.
And like, yeah, Xbox is kind of like the direction they're going. They've already done it with like Forza to an extent. But at this rate, they might end up doing that with like the rest of the genres that they touch on. That they only have studios that make one game in that specific genre versus a bunch of studios that makes a bunch of different games within the same genres and some in different ones. But you want to like, yeah, it sucks. It sucks so bad, and you want to hope that they've been doing better, and then for them to just take a big step back like this, which they've been doing this for a while, but like lately there's just been so much positive Xbox news for me that this just sucks so hard to see them just do this really big bad thing after all the good news.
It's like you guys are doing so well.